Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning if you're in WA. Welcome to Monday's edition of the live market update and charts of today. I hope you're well. I hope your weekend was a good one. And let's have a meander around markets. Lots going on this week to digest. And of course, we'll try and pick some of that so you're better prepared. And of course, we'll check out some charts as well just to see if there's anything that looks interesting. Of course, before we do, just to remind you that this is for educational purposes only, please make sure that you do your own due diligence on anything you see here. Make sure you follow trading plans and, of course, manage risk on every trading action. That's entry and exit consistent with your own personal trading objectives and financial situation. Apologies that this has been slightly earlier than is usual, but thanks for popping in anyway. If you're watching this on catch up, thank you very much for investing some time in checking it out. And of course, if you feel um, as though it has been useful, then if you wouldn't mind just ticking that little thumbs up, that always helps in terms of getting the word out that this occurs. Let's get into the stories for today then. And of course, major action on Friday as we saw equities sell off. Um, Essentially, there's a rare earth dispute between China and the US. So Trump reignited his tariff war, imposed 100% tariffs on China, and then China reciprocated. Some little dampening down, a bit of taco going on, perhaps. Trump has sort of said, "Oh, it'll be okay," this morning in a new post. Also, of course, the US government remains in shutdown. The debate over healthcare continues. That's the sticking point. Um, there needs to be a 60 number, and that's a little short at the moment. That's essentially the Republicans in control of everything at this stage, of course, digging in firm, want to remove the tax credits from the Affordable Care Act, and that essentially adds around 50 to 100% for most people's insurance payments. Um, so that's the debating point. There's no signs of that shifting at all. In fact, the Republicans are doubling down, cutting jobs. I think 4,000 jobs have been cut already. Expect more. And then if that wasn't enough, uh, along with the normal stuff, we've got US earnings season starting this week. As from tomorrow, the big banks will start to report with JP Morgan kicking it off. So lots to digest in markets, of course. On the um, on the news from Trump, we saw the US futures bounce today so far. The Nikkei is closed, but Asian markets are following that US lead, but are off their lows. Last time I looked, the ASX was down around 0.5%. European futures are pointing to a cautious open. Of course, in the background, of course, as well, a big event today in that this is supposed to be the day where we get hostage release out of Gaza and potentially the other way too. Interesting to see if the ceasefire holds after that, but at this stage, it seems to be doing so, um, which is always good news, of course. Um, we did see the US dollar index retesting a recent breakout. We'll check out on charts because they're moving really quite fast again this morning. We've noticed that gold is testing new highs in Asia as a flight to safety is in play. Copper dropped off on Friday after a strong month. We'll check out what that's doing again today. And oil got belted, breaching a key support level, and isn't that far away from 4-year lows. Although again, we may see some buying coming in. We'll check out the latest on that in a few moments. Um, on the data front, of course, on Bitcoin, we saw a test of 107,000, which is a key support level for Bitcoin. Again, I think buying's coming this morning. We'll check that latest out. So, US trade news, government shutdown news, earnings news will all be important. The US data is still likely to be delayed, which might be favouring the Trump admin, of course, if that jobs data was supposed to come in weaker than expected. It is a public holiday in the US with the banks closed, but markets are open as is the norm. We do have Chinese trade balance due this morning, being the only really notable data point of note. Um, Too much else going on, which is going to occupy the headlines. So that's where we are at. G'day, Roger. Hope you're good, mate. Thank you for saying hello. Always appreciated. You guys are saying hello in the chat, in the chat box. Very cool. Right. Let's actually try and have a look at some charts, shall we? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with we'll start with Bitcoin. So I'm just going to flick that over if you give me a second. There we go. So there's a Bitcoin charts to start with. You can see plenty of interesting price action going on there, with that duck down towards that 107,000 level. You can see the bounce we've got not only yesterday but today as well. So it looks as though once again markets are taking advantage of a fairly major dip to bounce to the upside again. But watch this space in terms of things coming out over the next few days. Here's the Nasdaq. You can see that gap, that belting on Friday that happened, closing at the lows of the session. A gap up. We've retraced now about 50% of that post-Truth Social drop, which was significant. I mean, if you look at where we were pushing record highs again. You can see there. So that was a drop of around about 4.8%, very significant, as I said. We've pulled back a couple of those already. Looks as though the buyers are coming back in, which is positive. If we look at the USD, you can see they're pretty flat today after a little bit of a sell-off. As I said, a retest of that key level it recently broke through. Be interesting to see what happens next with the USD. We'll check out some crosses in a moment. And you can see there we're pushing hard against 4050, quite remarkably on gold. If we look at the shorter time frame, you can see there that becomes significant. It's been tested twice already, that 4056, which was the high back on Friday. The high close, of course, we saw on the 8th of October. So that's the level we're keeping an eye on. If we look at the 4-hourly chart. If we look at copper, as I said, bit of a slide on Friday, but again, a gap up in today's trading as things chilled a little bit. But that's a fairly significant gap and around about 2/3 of retracement already. Watching potentially this level around about just over $5. But again, a significant drop in one hit of almost 6.5% on copper. But the buyers are back in now. We did say oil was looking precarious. That's what we saw on Friday. So we haven't recovered to the same extent as we have in other asset classes. There's these 4-year lows here at just around about $57. So we've got that move down to below 60, 58.41 on Friday, and then that bounce up again today. So all asset classes looking quite nice at this stage. Right, moving into FX pairs, some very interesting action on the USD yen. You can see the USD got clattered, and that really is a reflection of confidence in the US at the minute, which is waning rapidly. So we saw that sort of bounce go on back up to close to 152. So 152.25 could be a level to watch, and then there's a nice potential move to the upside, and I really quite like this as a chart. It's going to be difficult to beat. Let's check out the Aussie USD, and you can see there the Aussie got hit worse than the USD. Really nice gap up and bounce today in trading so far. This is the level currently to keep an eye on, I would suggest, at around about 65. 24. And if we look here, that's the potential target to the upside. So around about a 20 pip move. We'll just check out the Aussie yen actually, which is flying today. Of course, we had that big drop, lots of money going into Japan. Interesting stuff going into Japan. That's probably a story for another day. Maybe cover it on the next bar session tonight. But you can see there the Aussie demise, a bit of a bounce up, really nice move again this morning. Uh, Level of interest at 90, essentially 99 cents. Potential move up around about 35 pips. I really quite like this as a chart as well. But there may be a limit in how far this may move up. But there might be a 35, as I said, a 35 pip pinch. And then if we just check out on the Euro USD, this is a really interesting chart. We've got a multi-test of resistance on the hourly time frame, 116.14. Generally speaking, if you look at the daily chart, you can see we've been in downtrend on this really since the midpoint of September. Potential pipe formation technically on this. So we're looking for a move over this. If we do see that, we could see a move higher. In the first instance, possibly a move to around about 116.40. But of course, we've got a really tight trend here over the back end of Friday and the early part of today. So breach to the downside and through 116 could be equally significant, possibly down 30 pips or so. So really, it's a market where I would say risk is high. There could be plenty of movements. All it'll take is another social post um, or an issue with hostage exchange between Israel and Hamas, or further dramas on the US shutdown, and we could see it fly around considerably. So just be careful in today's market. It's the sort of market you really need to keep a close eye on. But I'm going to make US yen my chart of the day and for a move over 152.24 to keep on your radar with a possible shimmy up to around about that 133. But of course, at this stage, we're in the range below, so we could equally, until we get a break of that, we could equally see prices drift down significantly also. And there may even be a short opportunity there. I would say that's probably the level of interest around about 150, 173. Onto the ASX, let's just check out some of the stocks that we've been keeping an eye on. Obviously, rare earths have been in the news, and there you go. That's what happens when rare earths are in the news. This is a stock that we've been suggesting is very positive, really since June. We had this pause here um, for around about the best part of a month, really, at around about $15. But once it broke through, small pause there at around about 17. But we continue to move up. Now we're over 20, obviously record highs on this. The other major player in this space in terms of the large cap stocks in Australia is Iluka. We saw a little bit of a pullback. Profit taken on Friday. We've exceeded that. I would say this is a really nice level to keep an eye on. Around about $7.90. $8 is a nice round number. So obviously Iluka aren't just in the rare earth space, but both of those are worth keeping an eye on. Lithium stocks were looking really interesting at the back end of last week. And if we look at Liontown, um, it really sort of failed to hold this move over a dollar with any conviction. Indeed, we pulled back on Friday beneath that, only to see it pop up again today. Again, this is very attractive from a technical point of view, particularly if it breaches 105, which would breach those intraday wicks that got up to that level. This stage, the jury's out about whether it's got the momentum to do that. So again, being patient is good for the correct setup, but we could see it bimble around in here. And of course, the other one we had a look at was just for something completely different was Domino Pizza. Let me just pop this on a. There we go. There's the 20-minute chart. We did say watch this bounce. It bounced. This is the next level to keep an eye on, around about this 1480 level. Just check in. As we are entering earnings season in the US, um, go and check out when Domino's are due to report. Obviously, the parent company is US based, but even this move uh, up to around about 1650, which was this candle here post earnings, is significant in terms of an 11% upside. So again, one to be patient with, and just be aware that these markets are, I will consider to be high risk. Zipco is another one in the credit space. 482 looks like an interesting level. It's tested that multiple times over the last few weeks. Quickly into the US, of course, it's so difficult to call, but of course, the usual suspects going to keep an eye on. There's Nvidia's drop after the previous day, looking as though it breached 190. Just give all that away. Is this extended hours trading? It is extended hours trading. No, it's not. Extended hours trading will kick off this evening. There's Nvidia just to sort of keep an eye on in a little closer up sort of action. So we're looking for a breach of Thursday's high. MU very similar. We're stuck in a range here. I said $200 was probably a key level on this to watch. And we'll just have a look at Tesla as well. All of these tech stocks got battered. This is interesting. Potentially got a double top type of formation here. This is really important. That level at 418 is technically significant on the daily chart. Just put it on the candles there. So the breach we had on Friday was significant through that. So let's see how it sort of opens. But there is a potential if we do get some some selling into Tesla that we could see this drift down back through 400 and late 300s. Could be on the cards. That may be where the market suggests, or where we see some jumping in and potentially seeing value in this, of course. Um, Long or a few days to play through before we get to that stage. Of course, Tesla won't report anything in the early doors of earnings season. We'll get Netflix fairly soon in the piece, but that's where we are at. Uh, Good to hear, Roger. Um, so so that's really where it is. So in summary, I would say it's a high risk market right now, although there is every chance of bounce if we um, just dependent on what happens really over the next sort of 12 to 18 hours. We're still getting some buying coming uh, into the uh, into the asset classes that were hit hard on Friday, with the exception of Bitcoin, which looks a bit wobbly. But there you go. That's been the technical term, of course. Um, so that's the market to play. If you've got an opportunity to keep on top of it, maybe today provides some opportunities. But of course, it's very worthwhile for right now to not only be rigid about stop placement, but also lock in profit as it's there. If markets move with you, lock it in as it moves, just in case there is more action of the significant variety um, in a heartbeat that's unplanned. That's always the risk in markets like this. So I hope that's been useful, interesting, giving you a few things to have a look at. Um, I'll see some of you this evening on the EA course. Um, Watch out for Go Markets EA offering. It's going to be really exciting. I'll talk to you about that at another stage. We'll see you back here on Thursday, back to the normal time, and of course, Inner Circle on Wednesday. You know where I am if needed, so please feel free to drop me an email at any stage. I'll just put my email address into the chat box if you want to connect. Always good to hear from you. And most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope your Monday's a good one. Bye bye for now.